Question 28. Factorise fully 12x plus 16. Well, factorising means put back into a bracket. So we need to figure out which bracket that 12x plus 16 came from when it was multiplied out or when it was expanded. Okay, so one way of doing this is to draw a grid around each item within the question. So 12x is one box in the grid and positive 16 is the other box in the grid. And then what we do is we pull out common factors. This is what's called factorising. So we check in both boxes for common factors. So we check for common letters and we check for common numbers as well. So we always check for common letters first. So is X a common letter in both boxes? Is it a common factor in both boxes? The answer is no, because X only appears in the box on the left. So X is not a common factor, therefore X does not go in front of the grid. Then we check for numbers, 12 and 16. Well, we could say that 1 is a factor of both 12 and 16, 2 is a factor of both 12 and 16, and so is 4. But what we always do is we choose the highest common factor. It's a bit like when you're simplifying fractions. You always divide both things in the fraction by the biggest number that you can, and that simplifies it fully. And to factorise fully, we need to pull out the highest common factor that we can. So we pull out a 4. So 4 goes in front of the grid. Remember, we're trying to put this back into a bracket. Any common factors in our final answer actually go in front of the bracket. So whatever goes in front of the grid goes in front of the bracket in our final answer. Whatever goes on top of the grid will go inside our bracket in our final answer. So now we need to figure out what's going on top of the grid. So we're trying to make 12x, and whatever goes up here above it is times by the 4 to make 12x. So how do we make 12 if we've already got a 4? Well, it's going to be 4 times by 3, so we're going to need a 3. 4 times by 3 gives us the 12, and then we're also going to need the x. Remember, we can't put x in front of the grid because it's not a common factor. Only common factors go in front of the grid. So the x has to go on top instead. So 4 lots of 3x is 12x. And then how do we make 16? Then we've already got a 4. So 4 times by 4 again makes 16. And because it's positive 16, it's going to be positive 4. So, and there's our answer. So whatever goes in front of the grid goes in front of the bracket, and whatever goes on top of the grid goes inside the bracket. And that's how you do factorising. That is actually the final answer, so we're actually done with that question. But just as a check, we should expand the bracket and double check that we get back to what we started with. So remember, to expand the bracket, everything inside the bracket is times by the number in front. So 4 lots of 3x gives us the 12x in the question, and 4 lots of positive 4 gives us positive 16 from the question. So if we expanded that bracket, we would indeed get back to the question. So factorising and expanding are just opposites of each other.